My husband brought his mistress to Thanksgiving dinner, and my family gave her the good chair, not the folding chair near the hallway, not the extra seat squeezed between two cousins. The good chair, the one next to my husband, the one that used to be mine. I stood in my mother's kitchen, holding 2 pumpkin pies I had baked from scratch, watching a blonde woman I had never met laugh with my husband like she had every right to be there. Then he touched the small of her back. Then she touched his wrist. Then my mother saw me seeing them and whispered, "Nora, please don't make this awkward." Awkward. That was the word she chose. Not wrong, not cruel, not humiliating. Awkward. 10 minutes later, my husband kissed that woman in the kitchen where I used to help my father carve turkey. And before I could even breathe, my mother pulled me into the laundry room and said, "Whatever you think you saw, do not embarrass this family tonight." Embarrass the family. Not him, not her, me. By dessert, my sister asked if I could still pay the final deposit on her wedding venue. By the end of the night, my husband asked if we could finally have a mature conversation about selling my dead father's lake house to fund his restaurant dream. And when I refused, my mother said something I will never forget. "Nora, love means sacrifice." That was the night I realized they did not love me. They loved what I sacrificed. My name is Nora Bennett. I was 34 years old when I finally learned that sometimes the person everyone calls the strong one is just the person no one feels guilty about hurting. I was the oldest daughter in a family that looked beautiful in photographs and felt unbearable in real life. My mother, Linda Bennett, was a woman who could arrange flowers, table settings, family pictures, and people's emotions with the same tight, polished control. She had a soft voice, perfect posture, and a gift for making selfishness sound like tradition. She did not yell unless she had already lost. She sighed. She paused. She said things like, "After everything I've done for you girls," even when no one could name what exactly that everything was. She believed deeply in family loyalty. But her version of loyalty had a very specific direction. It flowed toward her, toward my younger sister Haley, toward whatever problem needed me to fix it. Rarely did it flow back. My father, Daniel Bennett, had been different. He was a quiet man, with rough hands, patient eyes, and an old-fashioned belief that you should never confuse being needed with being loved. He worked for 30 years as a civil engineer, mostly on bridges and public infrastructure around Oregon. He was not flashy. He did not make speeches. He showed love by checking tire pressure, fixing broken cabinet doors, leaving $20 bills in coat pockets, and remembering exactly how I liked my coffee. My father saw me, really saw me. When I was 19, after my mother made me give Haley my summer job money because Haley needed a decent laptop, or my dad took me out to a diner at 10 p.m. He ordered black coffee. I ordered fries and a milkshake and pretended not to cry. He did not lecture me. He did not insult my mother. He simply said, "Nora, being generous is good. Being trained to disappear is not." At 19, I did not understand the difference. At 34, I understood it too late. My father died when I was 26. Heart attack. Sudden, ordinary morning. No cinematic goodbye. One day, he was in the garage labeling boxes of screws by size because he was that kind of man. And the next day, my mother was calling me in a voice I had never heard before, telling me to come quickly. After the funeral, after the casseroles, and sympathy cards and relatives who kept saying he was in a better place, I found out he had left me the lake house. It was a cedar cabin outside Bend, Oregon, on a quiet lake surrounded by pines. Not huge, not luxurious, just beautiful in the way honest things are beautiful. He had bought it years earlier with money from a construction settlement and spent nearly every free weekend repairing it. The kitchen cabinets were uneven because he installed them himself. The back deck leaned slightly because he said he would fix it next spring for 7 springs in a row. The dock creaked. The windows stuck in winter. The fireplace smoked if the wind came from the wrong direction. It was perfect. My father left the Portland house to my mother. Some savings to her and Haley. A few old tools to my cousin. His watch to my uncle. But the lake house went to me. When the will was read, my mother smiled tightly and said, "I suppose your father had his reasons." Haley cried. Not because she missed him. At least not in that moment. She cried because she said it was unfair that I got the pretty thing. I remember staring at my hands in my lap, feeling grief twist into guilt, before I had even had a chance to hold the gift properly. My father had anticipated that. A week later, I found an envelope tucked inside the kitchen drawer at the lake house. My name was written on the front in his slanted block letters. Inside was a short note. "Nora, this house is not for the family. It is not for emergencies. It is not for anyone's business idea, wedding, retirement plan, or guilt trip. It is yours. You will know when you need it. Love, Dad." I read that note standing barefoot on the old pine floor, and for the first time since his funeral, I felt like he was still protecting me. I put the note in a frame and kept it on the shelf above the fireplace. For years, it stayed there quietly, waiting. I met Chase Whitaker 2 years after my father died. He was 34 then, managing a trendy restaurant in Portland's Pearl District. He was charming in that effortless, practiced way certain men develop when they learn early that confidence can be mistaken for character. He had dark blonde hair, a sharp jawline, and the kind of smile that made strangers feel as if they had just been let in on a secret. On our first date, he took me to a small place with exposed brick walls and handmade pasta. He asked about my job, my childhood, my father. When I told him about the lake house, he said, "That sounds sacred." Sacred. I remember that word because I believed him. I thought, here is a man who understands that some things are not assets. Some things are memory. In the beginning, Chase was wonderful. He sent good morning texts. He brought soup when I was sick. He listened when I talked about work. He called my mother Mrs. Bennett until she insisted on Linda, which charmed her immediately. He made Haley laugh. He helped Mason Haley's then boyfriend move a couch. He knew how to become useful just enough that everyone thought he was generous. That was part of his talent. Chase did not enter a family like an intruder. He entered like a solution. 2 years after we met, we got married in a small vineyard ceremony outside Hood River. My mother wore champagne silk and cried loudly enough for 3 tables to hear. Haley complained that the bridesmaid dress color washed her out. Chase cried during his vows, and everyone talked about how moving it was. I did not cry. I smiled the whole day, because I truly believed I was stepping into a life where I would finally be chosen without being useful first. For a while it felt that way. Then slowly, quietly, the pattern changed. Chase left restaurant management and started developing his concept. At first it sounded exciting. He wanted to open a warm, upscale, farm-to-table restaurant called Ember and Field. He talked about seasonal menus, open-fire cooking, local farmers' handmade ceramics, private dinners, a patio with string lights. He talked like a magazine article. People loved hearing him talk about it. My mother, especially. "Chase is such a visionary," she would say, usually while I was clearing plates. But visions cost money. At first it was little things. A logo designer, a business consultant, a weekend workshop in Seattle, a new laptop because investors take you more seriously when you look professional. Then the little things became larger. A lease deposit he backed out of but still lost money on. A market research package, a chef consultant, a social media strategist, wine tastings, brand photography, a custom website. He always had a reason. This is how you build something real, Nora. You can't be afraid of investing. One day you'll look back and be glad you believed in me. But belief, I learned, is cheaper when someone else pays for it. I had a stable job as an operations manager at a medical technology company. It was not glamorous, but it paid well. I had health insurance, a retirement account, a clean credit history, and the kind of financial discipline that made irresponsible people call me rigid. Chase called me rigid more and more often, at first with a laugh, then with irritation, then like an accusation. "You don't dream big," he would say, and because I loved him, I tried to compensate. I covered more household expenses so he could focus on building. I paid the car insurance when he was between income streams. I picked up groceries, utilities, subscriptions, travel costs. I told myself marriage was teamwork. I did not yet understand that teamwork requires both people pulling. One person pulling, while the other person points, is not teamwork. It is labor. Meanwhile, my family had their own quiet dependency on me. My mother lived in the house my father left her, but she constantly acted like she was one missed check away from ruin. She wasn't. The mortgage was paid. She had savings. She had my father's pension benefits. But she liked the emotional leverage of sounding helpless. She asked me to cover landscaping just this season, then house repairs, then insurance deductibles, then a new refrigerator, because apparently the old one made grief harder. Haley was worse. My younger sister had been the family's golden emergency since childhood. If she was late, traffic was cruel. If I was late, I was inconsiderate. If she overspent, she was overwhelmed. If I questioned spending, I was cold. Haley had a way of turning her wants into crises. When she got engaged to Mason, a personal trainer with impressive arms and no savings, her wedding became a full family rescue operation. The dress she wanted was the one thing she had dreamed of since Dad died. The photographer was non-negotiable. The venue deposit was urgent. The floral designer required a retainer. The bridesmaid proposal boxes, which I did not even know were a real thing, somehow became my problem, because Haley said, "You're so good with details." Being good with details is the oldest daughter's unpaid internship. By the fall of the year, everything fell apart. I was paying for parts of Chase's restaurant, dreaming parts of my mother's lifestyle and parts of Haley's wedding. Nobody called it that. They called it helping. They called it family. They called it love. And I kept telling myself I was lucky to be able to help. That is the lie generous people use to survive being exploited. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, Chase started talking about the lake house differently. He had mentioned it before, over the years. We should spend more weekends there. We could rent it out sometimes. Your dad would want people to enjoy it. But that October his tone changed. He started using phrases like untapped value and dead equity. We were sitting at the kitchen island one evening while rain ran down the windows. I was reviewing vendor invoices for Haley's wedding because she had sent me another panicked email with the subject line, "Help, please don't be mad." Chase poured himself bourbon and stood behind me. "You know," he said, "if we leveraged the lake house properly, Ember and Field could finally move from concept to execution." I did not look up. "Number," he laughed softly. "You didn't even let me finish. You used the word leveraged. I'm finished." His glass clicked against the counter. "Nora, I am trying to build a future for us. With my father's house. With an asset that's just sitting there most of the year." I closed the laptop. "It is not just sitting there. It is mine." His eyes narrowed slightly. "I know it's yours legally. I'm talking about us as a married couple. No Chase. You're talking about turning the one thing my father specifically left me into collateral for a restaurant that does not exist yet. That was too direct for him. He hated directness. Unless it came from him. His face shifted into wounded disappointment. I wish you could hear how little faith you have in me. There it was. The trap. If I protected myself, I did not believe in him. If I questioned him, I was unsupportive. If I said no, I was killing his dream. I softened, because that was what I had been trained to do. I'm not saying I don't believe in you. I'm saying the lake house is not part of this. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said quietly, "Everything is always yours when it matters." I remember that sentence. At the time, it hurt. Later, it became evident. The week of Thanksgiving, my mother turned the family group chat into a military command center. Bring the pies. Wear something warm but nice. No political arguments. Haley, please do not be late. Mason, please bring ice. Nora, can you? Venmo the bakery deposit Haley forgot, and they're threatening to cancel the custom cake tasting. Then a few messages later, Nora, I want one good family photo this year. Please help everyone cooperate. One good family photo. That phrase meant more to my mother than emotional honesty ever had. My mother loved proof of happiness. She loved captions like, "So thankful," and "My whole heart and family is everything." She loved arranging people around fireplaces and pretending closeness could be documented into existence. Thanksgiving morning, I woke before Chase. I baked 2 pumpkin pies because my mother said store-bought would feel sad. I packed them in cardboard carriers, cleaned the kitchen, answered 3 work emails, transferred $200 to Haley for a hair trial emergency, and stood in the bedroom doorway watching my husband sleep. For a brief moment, I felt tired in a way sleep could not fix. Not sad, not angry, just tired. Tired of being the person who kept everything moving while everyone else called themselves overwhelmed. Chase woke around 10 and checked his phone before saying good morning. He smiled at whatever he saw. Not a polite smile, a private one. I knew that smile. It used to be mine. "Who's that?" I asked. He turned the phone face down. "Restaurant stuff." I looked at him. He stretched, yawned, and said, "Don't start." 2 words. Don't start. Words men use when they have already done something worth finishing. I said nothing. By 3 o'clock, we were driving to my mother's house in Lake Oswego. The sky was low and gray. The trees along the road were half bare, their wet branches black against the clouds. Chase drove with one hand on the wheel and the other tapping messages into his phone at red lights. I held the pies in my lap. Halfway there, he said, "I really think tonight could be a good chance to get everyone aligned." Aligned about what? About the future. I stared out the windshield. "Chase, what? Do not bring up the lake house at Thanksgiving." He exhaled like I was being unreasonable. "I'm not going to ambush you." I almost believed him. That is the thing about people like Chase. They do not need to lie dramatically. They only need to sound tired enough that you feel guilty for doubting them. When we pulled up, my mother's house looked like a magazine version of Warmth. Wreath on the door. Lanterns on the porch. Golden light through the windows. Cars filling the driveway. The kind of home that made strangers say, "What a beautiful family." Inside it smelled like turkey butter, cinnamon candles, and emotional obligation. My mother opened the door in a cream cashmere sweater and pearl earrings. "Nora, finally," she said, taking in the pies. "Kitchen, please. Carefully." Then her face changed when she saw Chase. "Chase, honey, you look exhausted. Come in. Have you eaten?" "Of course you haven't. You work too hard." I walked past them carrying the pies. That was how it always worked. Men were tired. Haley was fragile. My mother was burdened. I was useful. The kitchen was crowded. Haley was leaning against the counter in a rust-colored dress, complaining that the makeup artist had made her look too matte. Mason stood beside the fridge, eating olives straight from the serving bowl. My Aunt Carol was trying to rescue burned rolls. A cousin's child was running through the hallway with a plastic dinosaur, and near the island stood a woman I had never seen before, blonde hair falling in loose waves, camel coat folded neatly over a chair, gold hoops, cream sweater, perfect jeans, a glass of wine already in her hand. She was laughing at something Chase had said. Chase, my husband, had somehow moved from behind me at the front door to beside her in the kitchen without me noticing. He looked relaxed, more relaxed than he had looked with me in months. The woman touched his forearm lightly, and he did not move away. My hand tightened around the pie box. Haley saw my face and instantly looked down at her phone. That was the first sign. If the woman had been just a guest, Haley would have introduced her. Instead, she hid. My mother entered behind me and froze for half a second. Then she moved quickly. Nora, sweetie, can you help me in the laundry room? Who is she? I asked. The kitchen noise seemed to lower, not stop, lower. People kept moving, but more carefully. My mother smiled too brightly. That's Brooke. Brooke, who? Brooke Albright. She's been helping Chase with branding. With branding. My voice was flat. Chase turned, then his expression perfectly smooth. Nora, hey. I wanted to introduce you properly. Brooke, this is my wife Nora. My wife. He said it casually, like a job title. Brooke smiled at me. So nice to finally meet you. Chase has told me so much about you. Finally. So much. Each word landed like a small needle. I looked at Chase. You invited her. Haley jumped in. I invited her, actually. She's been really helpful with some wedding aesthetic stuff, too. Wedding aesthetic stuff. My husband's branding assistant was now helping with my sister's wedding. Of course she was. My mother took my elbow and squeezed hard enough to hurt. Laundry room? She said through her smile. I let her pull me down the hallway because some part of me still wanted there to be an explanation that did not destroy my life at a holiday dinner. She shut the laundry room door. The dryer hummed beside us. My mother turned to me with a face full of warning, not concern. Nora, whatever you're thinking, stop. Why is that woman here? I told you. She's helping Chase. Why is she helping Haley? Because she has taste. I almost laughed. Mom, Nora listened to me. Chase is under enormous pressure. Haley is under enormous pressure. This is a holiday. Your job tonight is to keep things peaceful. My job, yes. Because you are the one who can control yourself. There it was. The family motto. Other people could wound me, but I was responsible for making the bleeding discreet. I looked at her carefully. How long have you known her? My mother's mouth tightened. That is not the point. How long? She folded her arms. She's been around for a few months. A few months. She's part of Chase's professional circle. Then why didn't I know she existed? My mother looked at me with irritation. Maybe because you make Chase feel like he can't share things with you. The room tilted slightly. Not physically. Emotionally. Because that sentence was too ready. Too rehearsed. Someone had been telling my mother a version of my marriage that made me the obstacle, and she had believed it. Worse. She had enjoyed believing it because it gave her permission to ask more from me without feeling guilty. I opened the laundry room door. My mother grabbed my wrist. Nora, I am serious. Do not embarrass this family tonight. I looked down at her hand. Slowly she released me. When I walked back into the kitchen, Chase and Brooke were standing near the wine rack. She said something softly. He leaned closer. She laughed. Then he kissed her. It was brief, a quick press of his mouth to hers. Not passionate, not theatrical, almost casual. That made it worse. It was not the kiss of two people making a reckless mistake. It was the kiss of two people who had forgotten they needed to hide. The kitchen went silent for one terrible second. Haley dropped a spoon into the mashed potatoes. My Aunt Carol turned toward the sink. Mason suddenly became fascinated with the football score from the living room. Chase turned and saw me. His eyes widened, just slightly. Then he smiled. The audacity of that smile is something I still think about. "Nora," he said, as if I had walked in during a harmless conversation. "You okay?" I stood there holding nothing now. The pies were already on the counter. My hands were empty. It struck me as symbolic. I had arrived bearing something sweet for people who were about to ask me to swallow poison. Before I could speak, my mother clapped her hands. "Dinner is ready," and everyone moved. That was the part I could not understand for a long time. How quickly everyone moved, as if the kiss was a dropped fork, as if my pain was a minor spill to wipe up before the turkey got cold. At the dining table, the place cards were already set. My mother always did place cards because she said it made dinner elegant. Chase's card was beside Brooke's. Mine was not beside Chase's. Mine was between Aunt Carol and a teenage cousin who kept vaping into his sleeve. I looked at the table arrangement, then at my mother. She avoided my eyes. Chase sat across from me. Brooke sat next to him, knee angled toward his. Haley sat beside Mason and dabbed at her eyes dramatically, though no one had insulted her yet. My mother stood at the head of the table and lifted her wine glass. "This year," she began, "I am grateful for family, for resilience, and for new beginnings." New beginnings. Brooke smiled softly into her wine. I stared at my plate. My mother continued, "Family means showing up for one another, especially when life is uncertain. It means sacrifice. It means believing in each other's dreams even when fear tells us to hold back." Every person at that table knew she was speaking to me. My face remained still. That was not because I was calm. It was because something inside me had gone very cold. And cold, things don't shake. Dinner began. People passed turkey stuffing, green beans, sweet potatoes. They talked over the obvious. That is a special skill in dysfunctional families. They can step around a bleeding person as long as the carpet looks clean. Chase performed beautifully. He complimented my mother's cooking. He joked with Mason. He told Aunt Carol that Ember and Field was getting close. He said Brooke had an incredible eye for brand experience. He used phrases like regional sourcing, investor readiness, and launch strategy. My mother glowed. Haley kept saying, "That is so exciting." Brooke asked thoughtful questions in a soft voice. I ate 3 bites of turkey and tasted nothing. Then Chase said, "The only challenge is finding the right foundation." He looked at me. Not long. Just enough. My mother picked it up immediately. "Well," she said lightly, "sometimes the foundation is already in the family." My fork stopped halfway to my plate. Haley leaned forward. "Wait, are we talking about the lake house?" I put my fork down. "Number." The word was not loud, but it landed. My mother's smile tightened. "Nora, no one is asking you to decide anything at dinner. Then, no one should discuss it at dinner." Chase laughed under his breath. "There it is." I looked at him. "There, what is?" "The shutdown. The wall. This is what I mean." Brooke looked down, pretending discomfort. My mother said softly, "Nora, Chase is only trying to build something for your future." "Our future," Chase added. I looked from my husband to his mistress to my mother to my sister, and I realized the scene had been designed. The seating, the speech, Brooke's presence, the discussion. They had gathered me into a room full of people prepared to pressure me, and they had counted on my politeness to trap me. That was what made me finally understand. This was not a misunderstanding. This was strategy. I did not argue. I picked up my water glass and took a sip. Silence made them nervous, so I gave them more of it. After dinner, Haley pulled me into the hallway near the guest bathroom. Her eyes were shiny, but not with sadness, with irritation. "Can you please not make tonight about you?" I stared at her. "My husband kissed another woman in the kitchen." She winced. "Okay, but you don't know the context." "The context, Chase and Brooke are complicated." My chest tightened. "You know." Haley looked annoyed at herself for saying too much. "I mean, everyone knows they're close. Everyone." "Nora, don't do this." "Do what?" "Act blindsided." That was the sentence that took my breath. Act blindsided, as if the humiliation belonged to me because I had failed to pretend not to see it coming. She kept talking. Mom has been really stressed. The wedding is already overwhelming. Chase is trying to open the restaurant. Brooke has been helping with design ideas. You being icy makes everything harder. Icy, yes. And honestly, that's probably why Chase feels more supported by her. For a moment, I could only look at her, my little sister, the girl I had protected in school, the girl whose rent I covered one summer, the girl whose engagement party I paid for, because my mother said Dad would have wanted us to celebrate. She was not confused. She was not manipulated. She was choosing the version of reality that kept my money available. Then she lowered her voice. Also, please don't forget the venue balance is due Monday. I laughed once, quietly. Haley blinked. What? You are asking me for money right now? She looked offended. I'm asking you to honor what you said. I said I would help if I could. And you can. That was the problem. I could. So in their minds, I had to. Before I could answer, my mother called everyone into the living room for the family photo. The fireplace was lit. The mantel was decorated with garland and white candles. My mother arranged people with the seriousness of a museum curator. Mason and Haley, Anna in the center. My mother beside them. Chase near the center. Brooke beside Chase. I stood at the edge until my mother hissed. Nora, come closer. Don't make it look strange. Don't make it look strange. That was my family's real commandment. Not be kind. Not be honest. Make it look good. I stepped closer. The timer blinked. We smiled. The photo captured exactly what my mother wanted. A warm, beautiful family. Gathered under soft lights. It did not capture Chase's hand brushing Brooke's waist. It did not capture my sister's impatience. It did not capture my mother's warning grip on my wrist. It did not capture the moment a daughter finally understood she had been placed outside her own life. 30 minutes later, my mother posted it online. So thankful for family love, forgiveness, and new beginnings. Brooke commented with 3 heart emojis. My mother replied, so grateful for you. That night, Chase and I drove home through steady rain. The car smelled faintly of pie crust and his cologne. He waited 10 minutes before speaking. You were unbelievably cold tonight. I watched water streak across the passenger window. Was I? Brooke felt uncomfortable. Something in me almost cracked. Brooke felt uncomfortable. Yes. Did you? He tightened his hands on the wheel. I don't want to do this. You kissed her. It was nothing. It was in my mother's kitchen. You're making it sound trashy. I turned to him then. What would you call it? He jawed at the inside of his cheek. A mistake. How many times? What? How many times have you mistakenly kissed her? He said nothing. The windshield wipers beat back and forth. Finally, he said, this is exactly why I can't talk to you. Everything becomes an interrogation. No Chase. Questions feel like interrogation when you're hiding the answers. He laughed bitterly. You know what, fine. Brooke understands me. She believes in me. She doesn't look at me like I'm some irresponsible child every time I talk about the restaurant. I look at you like a man who keeps asking me to risk what my father left me. Because you are clinging to a house more than you are supporting your husband. My father's note flashed in my mind. This house is not for the family, not for emergencies, not for anyone's business idea, wedding, retirement plan, or guilt trip. It is yours. When we got home, I went straight upstairs. Chase slept in the guest room. Neither of us said goodnight. The next morning, my phone was already full of messages. Family group chat first. My mother had sent the Thanksgiving photo again. Beautiful night. Let's remember what matters. Haley replied, love you all. Mason sent a football gif. Brooke replied, thank you for including me. It meant more than you know. I stared at her name in our family chat. My husband's Mistress had been folded into my family before my family had even bothered to tell me she existed. Then Haley texted privately, hey, I know last night was weird, but the venue balance is due Monday. It's $8,700. Please don't punish me for chase drama. Chase drama. My marriage was now chase drama. Before I could answer, my mother texted, "Nora, I hope you are not planning to make things difficult for your sister. Whatever is happening between you and Chase should not affect Haley's wedding. Family rises above. Family rises above. But somehow family never rose above needing my money." Then Chase texted from downstairs, "We need to talk later." I'm serious. The lake house could solve multiple problems if you'd stop being emotional. Stop being emotional. That message did something important. It removed the last bit of fog. Because when 3 people ask you for different things before breakfast, and not one asks if you are okay, you start to understand your role with disturbing clarity. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table, and I did not respond to anyone. For the next week I observed, not because I was weak, because I was learning. I watched Chase come and go at odd hours. I watched him take calls outside. I watched him turn his phone away when I entered the room. I watched how quickly irritation flashed across his face when I asked normal questions. I watched my mother post more Thanksgiving photos, carefully choosing pictures where Brooke appeared at the edge like a soft launch. I watched Haley send vendor invoices with cheerful captions. "Hi, best sister. Rever, don't hate me. Emergency, but tiny emergency. Can you cover this? And I'll pay you back after the wedding." She never paid anyone back. Not me, not my mother, not life. I also noticed something else. The wedding planning group chat had gone quiet for me. At first I thought there were no updates. Then Haley accidentally texted me a screenshot meant for someone else. It was the seating chart. I opened it without thinking. The head table included Haley Mason, my mother. Mason's parents, Chase and Brooke. My name was at table 11. Near the back, with 2 cousins I barely knew and 3 teenagers. I stared at it for a long time. Then Haley texted, "Oops, wrong version LOL. Don't spiral. It's just a layout thing. Don't spiral." They had a whole vocabulary for managing my reaction before I had one. I typed back, "I understand." She sent a heart emoji. She thought that meant forgiveness. It did not. It meant the evidence was complete. That Saturday, I drove to the lake house alone. Chase thought I was going to the office. My mother thought I was ignoring her because I needed to cool down. Haley thought I was being dramatic. I let everyone think whatever kept them quiet. The drive east was gray and beautiful. Portland disappeared behind me. The road opened into Evergreen's wet fields, bare branches, and eventually the quiet stretch toward Bend, where the sky felt wider than my grief. When I pulled up to the lake house, the air was cold and clean. I sat in the car for a few minutes before going in. The house was exactly as I had left it. Cedar smell, old quilts, my father's blue mug in the cabinet, the framed note above the fireplace. I took it down and read it again. This house is not for the family. It is not for emergencies. It is not for anyone's business idea, wedding retirement plan, or guilt trip. It is yours. You will know when you need it. I sat on the floor beneath the mantel and cried. Not pretty crying. Not one tear sliding down my cheek like in movies. I cried with my whole chest. For the husband who turned my trust into funding. For the mother who saw my humiliation as a hosting inconvenience. For the sister who could remove me from her wedding table and still invoice me for the flowers. For the father who had known somehow that one day I would need a place nobody else could claim. After a while I stopped. Not because I was fine, because grief has a limit inside the body. Eventually something else rises. For me that something was clarity. I opened my laptop at the old kitchen table. I made a list. Every payment, every account, every recurring charge, every temporary loan, every subscription under my card, every wedding vendor, every household expense that belonged to someone else. The list was humiliating, not because I had helped. Helping was not shameful. What was shameful was how invisible the help had become. My mother's landscaping, Haley's floral deposit, Haley's makeup artist, Mason's gym certification fee, Chase's website hosting, Chase's branding software, Chase's chef consultant payment plan, Chase's car insurance, a family phone plan with 5 lines, only one of them mine, streaming services, storage unit, emergency dress alteration, a bridal shower venue deposit, my mother's new washing machine, a credit card I had let Chase use just for business expenses that now included hotel charges from 2 dates when he said he was at investor dinners. I stared at those hotel charges until the numbers blurred. Then I stopped staring. I started acting. I removed my card from every vendor I could access. I changed passwords. I separated the phone plan. I canceled authorized users. I locked my credit. I moved my savings into an account only I could access. I called the property manager, who occasionally checked the lake house, and told her very clearly that no one except me had permission to enter tour photograph rent list, stage borrow against, or use the property. She said, "Of course, Nora. Of course." Such a simple phrase when spoken by someone who respects boundaries. By Sunday afternoon, I felt strangely calm. Not happy, not healed, calm. The kind of calm that comes when you stop asking people to understand and start making it impossible for them to continue. On Monday, the explosions began. Haley called first. I was at work reviewing a staffing report when my phone buzzed, then buzzed again. Then the texts came. "Nora, what is going on? The venue just called. Your payment failed. Please tell me this is a bank issue. Nora, answer me." Then my mother, "I don't know what you think you are accomplishing, but your sister is hysterical. This is cruel. Your father would be ashamed of this behavior." That one made my hand freeze over the keyboard. My father would be ashamed. For years, that sentence would have broken me. That day, it clarified something. People who do not respect the dead will still use these as weapons. Chase texted 20 minutes later, "Why is the branding subscription frozen?" Then, "Nora, this is not how adults handle conflict." Then, "Call me." I did not call. At lunch, I answered my mother. Only her. She picked up on the first ring. "Nora Bennett," she said, using my full name like a courtroom sentence. "What have you done?" "I stopped paying bills that are not mine." A sharp silence. "Excuse me, I stopped paying bills that are not mine. Do you have any idea what kind of position this puts your sister in?" "Yes. And you're comfortable with that?" "I'm comfortable not funding a wedding I've been pushed out of." My mother sucked in a breath. "Oh, for heaven's sake. Is this about that seating chart?" "It is about the pattern." "What pattern?" "The pattern where I am family when money is due, and an inconvenience when respect is due." She laughed once, disbelieving. "That is a very dramatic way to describe helping your sister." "No, Mom. Helping is voluntary. What you all expect from me is tribute." Her voice turned cold. "You sound bitter. I sound accurate. You are punishing everyone because your marriage is struggling. My marriage is struggling because my husband brought his mistress to Thanksgiving, and you gave her a seat beside him." My mother lowered her voice. "Do not use that word. Mistress." "Nora, what would you prefer?" "Branding consultant," she gasped. "You are being vulgar." "No, Mom. What happened was vulgar. I'm just no longer making it elegant for you." For the first time in my life, my mother had no immediate answer. Then she said quietly, "If you continue down this road, you may find yourself very alone." I looked through the glass wall of my office at coworkers walking by with coffee cups, laughing about ordinary things. "I already was," I said. Then I hung up. That evening, Chase was waiting when I got home. He sat at the kitchen island with his laptop open, but he was not working. His expression was controlled in a way that told me he had practiced. "We need to talk," he said. I set my bag down. "About Brooke." His jaw moved. "About your behavior." I almost smiled. "My behavior?" "Yes. You're making rash financial decisions out of jealousy." I am making financial decisions after discovering that my money has been funding lies. He stood. You don't understand what it takes to build something. You're right, I said. I only understand what it takes to pay for it. His eyes hardened. There it is. The contempt. No. The receipt. He paced once across the kitchen. Brooke is not the issue. She is one of them. She believes in the restaurant. Then she can invest. He stopped. She doesn't have that kind of money. How inconvenient. You're enjoying this. I looked at him for a long moment. No. Chase. I'm not enjoying finding out that my husband used my income, my credit card, my family access, and now wants my father's house while sleeping with the woman he calls his brand consultant. His face reddened. You are twisting everything. Then straighten it. He opened his mouth, closed it. I waited. He hated that. Chase could perform in front of people. He could charm a table. He could turn vague ambition into applause. But alone, facing a direct question, his language lost its shine. Finally, he said, "Things with Brooke got complicated. That is a coward sentence." He flinched. "You have been emotionally unavailable for years." I nodded slowly. "Is that what you told my mother?" I told her the truth. No, you told her the version where my boundaries are abuse, and your betrayal is loneliness. His expression shifted. That one landed. He walked closer, lowering his voice. "Nora, listen. We can still fix this. But not if you keep acting like everything is only yours. Your salary, your cards, your lake house, your rules. Marriage is supposed to be partnership. Partnership does not mean access to everything I own while you hide everything you do." He stared at me. Then he said the sentence that ended any last trace of love I had for him. "You know your dad really did a number on you with that house." The air left the room. I looked at him. He kept going, either not seeing the danger or not caring. "He made you cling to it like some sacred shrine. He's gone, Nora. A dead man's cabin should not matter more than your living husband." For a moment I heard nothing. Not the refrigerator, not the traffic outside, not my own breathing. Then I said very softly, "Do not mention my father again." He rolled his eyes. "There, that's exactly what I'm talking about." I walked past him up the stairs into the bedroom and locked the door. He knocked once, then twice. Then he shouted that I was being childish. Then he stopped. I sat on the edge of the bed and looked at my hands. They were not shaking. That surprised me. I had always imagined that if my marriage ended, I would be destroyed. Instead, I felt something quieter. Recognition, like I'd been trying to read a sign in the dark for years, and suddenly someone turned on the lights. The next 2 weeks became a campaign, not by me, by them. My mother called relatives. I know because Aunt Carol texted me, "Honey, I don't know what's going on, but your mom says you're cutting everyone off." I replied, "I am no longer paying other adults' bills." She sent back, "Honestly, good for you." That was unexpected. Then she added, "Don't tell Linda I said that." Haley moved from rage to sobbing to guilt. Her messages came in waves. "How can you do this to me? Dad would have wanted me to have a beautiful wedding. I already told people about the venue. Do you want me to be humiliated? You're my sister. I would do it for you." That last one made me laugh out loud. Haley would not have done it for me. Haley would have called my budget unrealistic and suggested I elope. Mason texted too, "Really disappointed in how you're handling this." "Family should help family," I replied. "Then help your fiancé pay for the wedding." He did not respond. Chase alternated between anger and tenderness. One morning he left coffee outside the bedroom door with a note, "I miss us." That afternoon I found a message preview from Brooke on his phone while it buzzed on the counter. Did she calm down yet? She, not Nora. She. I did not confront him. I no longer needed the drama of confession. Confession is only useful when you still hope the truth will change something. I had enough truth. Then my mother announced a family reset dinner. She used those exact words, family reset. She said everyone was hurting. She said things had gone too far. She said she wanted us all in the same room with open hearts before Christmas. I asked, will Brooke be there? My mother paused. That depends. On what? On whether you can behave like an adult, I said. Then yes, she'll be there. My mother sighed. Nora, you are choosing resentment. No, Mom. I'm recognizing reality. She lowered her voice into that soft, wounded tone. I don't know what happened to my kind daughter. I closed my eyes. That one almost worked. Not because it was true. Because I had spent my entire life wanting my mother to call me kind, without also needing something. I said she got tired of being kind to people who mistook it for permission. Then I agreed to come, not to reconcile, to finish. The dinner was the Sunday before Christmas. My mother's house was decorated like a department store window. White lights, garland, red ribbon. A silver nativity set on the mantel that no one touched, but everyone was expected to admire. I parked on the street and sat in my car for a full minute. Inside my purse was an envelope. Inside the envelope was not a lawsuit, not a threat, not revenge. It was a printed letter, one page, clear boundaries, no more payments, no access to the lake house, no discussion of my father's property, no involvement in Chase's business, no wedding funding, no shared accounts, no family mediation where I was expected to apologize for reacting to mistreatment. I had written it at the lake house and edited it until every emotional sentence became simple. People who feed on guilt hate clarity. I rang the bell. My mother opened the door. She looked tired, but beautifully tired, the way she preferred to look when she wanted sympathy. Nora, she said, hugging me stiffly. Thank you for coming. The living room was already occupied. Haley sat on the couch with Mason's arm around her. Chase stood near the fireplace holding a glass of wine. Brooke sat in my father's old reading chair. That chair had been moved from our childhood home after he died. I had not noticed before how wrong she looked in it. Blonde hair shining under my mother's warm lights. Legs crossed. Hands folded. Performing concern. My mother followed my gaze. Before you say anything, Brooke is here. Because this affects her too. I looked at Chase. He did not look away. That was when I knew they had stopped pretending this was about healing. This was about forcing a new arrangement. One where I accepted humiliation, funded everyone, and called it maturity. We sat. Nobody offered me wine. My mother began as expected. Nora, we love you. I almost said, no, you don't, but I let her continue. This family has been through so much. Losing your father changed all of us. I know you carry pain. We all do. Haley sniffed on cue. But pain does not give us permission to hurt each other. I looked at my sister. She looked away. My mother continued. Your recent choices have affected everyone. Your sister's wedding, Chase's business, my household, the emotional atmosphere of this family. The emotional atmosphere. I wondered briefly if she could hear herself. Chase stepped in. I made mistakes, he said. That was how men like Chase begin fake accountability. Broad enough to sound humble, vague enough to avoid consequence. I should have been more honest about Brooke. Brooke looked down. But Nora, you shut me out long before that. I felt judged, unseen, unsupported. I laughed once. I did not mean to. It just came out. Everyone looked at me. Sorry, I said. Continue. Chase's face tightened. I'm trying to be honest. No, you are trying to make your affair sound like a workplace injury. Haley gasped. My mother snapped Nora. Brooke spoke for the first time. I really don't think attacking people is helpful. I turned to her. You are sitting in my dead father's chair after kissing my husband in my mother's kitchen. Helpful left the room a while ago. Her face went pale. Chase stepped toward me. Do not speak to her like that. And there it was. The instinctive defense. Not of me. Never of me. I nodded slowly. Thank you. He blinked. For what? For making it simple. My mother stood. This is exactly why we needed tonight. You are full of anger. No, I said. I am full of information. The room quieted. I reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope. Haley's eyes flickered toward it. For one brief, almost funny moment, I realized she thought it might be a check. I handed the envelope to my mother. She opened it and read. Her face changed line by line. Not sadness, not shame. Offense. That told me everything. Haley leaned over. What is it? I stood. I'll summarize. Chase folded his arms. I looked at each of them. I am no longer paying for Haley's wedding. Haley burst into tears immediately. I kept going. I am no longer covering Mom's house expenses. Landscaping repairs, appliance, upgrades, or personal emergencies. Unless I choose to, and right now I do not choose to. My mother said, Nora, this is absurd. I am not finished. She stopped because my voice was different, not louder. Different. I have removed Chase from my credit card's accounts and subscriptions. I will not invest in Ember and Field. I will not use my salary, savings credit, or inheritance to fund it. Brooke believes in it, apparently. She is welcome to support it. Brooke opened her mouth, then closed it. And the lake house, I said, is permanently off limits. Chase's face hardened. No one is talking about stealing your precious house. Good. Then this will be easy. He stepped closer. Nora, don't do this. I already did. My mother's voice shook with anger now. Your father left you that house because he trusted you to do the right thing. I looked at her. Mother, no. He left it to me because he knew someday all of you would call taking it the right thing. That landed. For the first time, my mother looked genuinely struck, not remorseful, exposed. Haley sobbed. Just going to ruin my wedding. No, Haley. I am going to let your wedding cost what you and Mason can afford. Mason muttered, wow. I turned to him. You have been engaged for 11 months and have contributed less to this wedding than my credit card points. You do not get a vote. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Chase laughed bitterly. You rehearsed this? Yes. At the lake house? Yes. Of course, your little shrine. The room went cold. My mother closed her eyes like she wished he had not said it in front of witnesses. I looked at Chase. Our marriage is over. He stared. For 1 second, the mask fell. Not because he loved me, because he understood the financial implication. Then he recovered. You're being dramatic. No. I'm being final. Nora, my mother said marriage is not something you throw away over one mistake. I looked at Brooke. One mistake came to Thanksgiving dinner. Brooke stood abruptly. I don't have to sit here and be insulted. I smiled slightly. No, you don't. That's the first thing we agree on. She grabbed her coat and walked toward the hallway. Chase followed her with his eyes. That said enough. I picked up my purse. My mother moved in front of me. If you walk out this door like this, do not expect everyone to pretend nothing happened. For the first time that night, I smiled fully. Mom pretending nothing happened is the family tradition I'm ending. Her face crumpled, but not with grief, with loss of control. You are choosing to be alone. No, I said. I am choosing to stop being surrounded by people who make me feel alone. Then I turned to Chase. You can pick up your remaining things from the house this week. I will text you a time. If Brooke wants a man with a restaurant dream and no funding, congratulations to both of you. He glared at me. You think you won? I looked around the room, at my crying sister, my furious mother, my silent brother-in-law-to-be. My husband halfway turned toward the woman leaving, the old chair, the Christmas lights, the beautiful room where my feelings had been put on trial, so everyone else could keep using me. No, I said. I think I finally stopped losing. Then I walked out. The cold air hit my face like mercy. I did not cry in the car. I expected to. Instead, I drove home with both hands steady on the wheel, while Christmas lights blurred past in the rain. When I got to the house Chase and I shared, I packed his things. Not everything. I was not cruel. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, files. chargers. The expensive chef knives, he said, were essential to his creative process, but had mostly been used by me to chop onions for weeknight dinners. I put everything in boxes by the door. He came home after midnight, not alone. I saw Brooke's car idling at the curb. He walked in, saw the boxes, and stopped. For once, he seemed genuinely speechless. I stood at the bottom of the stairs in sweatpants and my father's old flannel shirt. The one thing Chase always said made me look depressing. I packed what I could, I said. Text me if I missed anything. His face moved through anger, disbelief, contempt, and something like fear. You can't just kick me out. I can ask you to leave. And I am. This is my home too. No Chase. This is a rental in my name because your credit was too unstable when we moved in. You insisted it didn't matter because we were married. He remembered that. I saw it. The small flicker. Then he said, "You've become so cold." No. I've become less available. He looked toward the window where Brooke's headlights glowed faintly through the curtains. She has nowhere to do with this. I almost felt pity then. Not for him. For the old version of me who would have argued with that sentence. Take the boxes, I said. He stood there for a long time. Then he picked up two and carried them out. Trip after trip. No dramatic speech. No apology. No final confession. Endings, I learned, are rarely cinematic when they are real. Sometimes they sound like cardboard scraping against the floor. When the last box was gone, Chase stood in the doorway. "You'll regret this," he said. Maybe, I replied. But I won't finance it. He left. The door closed. And the silence that followed did not crush me. It held me. The weeks after that were messy. Of course they were. People love to tell stories where one brave speech fixes everything. It does not. Leaving toxic people is not one door slam. It is 100 small decisions afterward. Not answering the guilt text. Not explaining yourself to relatives who only heard one side. Not reopening access because someone cries. Not confusing loneliness with a sign you made the wrong choice. My mother did not speak to me for 9 days. Then she sent a long email with the subject line, "Heartbroken." It contained no apology, only disappointment. She said I had humiliated her. She said Haley's mental health was suffering. She said Chase was clearly lost and needed compassion. She said Brooke was not the villain I had decided she was. She said family should not keep score. That sentence almost made me laugh again. Family should not keep score is usually said by the people losing track of how much they owe. I did not respond. Haley's wedding downsized. The expensive lakefront venue was canceled. The florist was replaced. The custom champagne wall disappeared. The welcome bags vanished. The bridal party was reduced. Haley posted vague quotes online about betrayal and seeing people's true colors during your happiest season. My mother commented, "Proud of your strength." I muted them both. Chase tried everything. At first anger. "You are sabotaging my life." Then blame. Brooke says you're emotionally abusive. Then nostalgia. Remember Cannon Beach. Remember our vows. Then practicality. Can we at least talk about the business loan like adults? Then panic. "Nora, please. I have meetings lined up. I just need one person to believe in me." I almost answered that one. Not because I wanted him back, because the old muscle memory of rescue twitched. But I thought of my father's note. Not for anyone's business idea. I deleted the message. Brooke lasted 6 weeks. I found out through a mutual acquaintance that she stopped helping when Chase could no longer pay for design work dinners and hotel rooms. She updated her Instagram with a photo from Scottsdale, holding a cocktail beside a man in a linen shirt, who looked at least 15 years older and significantly more solvent. Chase deleted all mention of Ember and Field from his bio. Then he added, "Hospitality consultant." Building something new. Men like Chase are always building something new, usually with someone else's money. By late January, the house was fully mine in feeling, even if it had always been mine on paper. I rearranged the living room. I threw out the bar cart Chase had insisted made us look adult. I replaced the gray bedding he liked with deep green sheets. I took down the framed restaurant sketches and put up photographs my father had taken at the lake. I changed the locks not because I feared Chase would come back, but because I liked the symbolism. A new key, a new boundary, a door that opened only for people I chose. One Saturday, Aunt Carol came by with soup. She stood in my kitchen, looked around, and said, "It feels peaceful in here." I almost cried. Not because the sentence was profound, because she was right. For years, my home had contained tension even on quiet days. Chase's disappointment, his unfinished plans, his resentment of my caution, his phone lighting up at odd hours. My own constant calculation of Bill's moods, needs, expectations. Now the house was silent, and the silence did not demand anything. Aunt Carol ate soup with me at the kitchen island and told me something I had never known. "Your father worried about this," she said. I looked up. About Chase. About all of it. Linda. Haley. The way everyone leaned on you. He told me once, "Nora thinks love means carrying the heaviest box. One day, I hope she learns she can put it down." I turned away because my eyes filled instantly. Aunt Carol reached across the counter and squeezed my hand. "He would be proud of you." That time I believed it. In February, I went to the lake house again. This time, to moi. Not as an escape, as a beginning. The road was icy in patches. Snow sat along the shoulders. The lake was steel gray under a white sky. Smoke rose from a few distant cabins. Inside, everything was cold until I started the fire. I unpacked groceries, coffee, bread, eggs, a small cake from a bakery in town, because I had decided survival deserved dessert. Then I cleaned, not because the house was dirty, because I wanted to touch every room. I washed the windows, changed the sheets, swept the porch, restacked firewood, tightened a loose cabinet handle with one of my father's old screwdrivers. When evening came, I made soup and ate it at the small table near the window. No one called. No one needed money. No one asked to borrow the house. No one told me I was cold, dramatic, selfish, bitter, punishing, jealous, or difficult. The quiet stretched around me like a blanket. After dinner, I took my father's note down again. For the first time, I noticed something on the back, a line I had somehow never seen. Maybe because I had framed it too quickly. Maybe because grief makes you miss things. Written in smaller letters was one more sentence. When they call you selfish, ask yourself what they lost access to. I sat there holding the paper and laughed through tears. My father had known my family too well, maybe better than I did. That spring, Haley got married. I did not attend, not because I was banned. By then, she had re-invited me in a long message that included the words, "Be the bigger person 3 times. And financial contribution optional but depreciated once." I declined politely. On the wedding day, my mother posted photos. Haley looked beautiful. Mason looked pleased with himself. The flowers were simpler. The venue was smaller. The world did not end. In one photo, there was an empty space at a family table where I might have been. My mother captioned the album, "A perfect day surrounded by the people who showed up." For once, I did not feel the need to correct her. She was right. Everyone there had shown up, and so had I. For myself, a few months later, my mother finally asked to meet for coffee. I almost said no. Then I said yes, because boundaries are not walls, unless they need to be. Sometimes they are doors with locks, and you decide when to open them. We met at a quiet cafe halfway between our homes. She looked older, or maybe I was finally seeing her, without the soft blur of obligation. She hugged me. I let her. We ordered coffee. For several minutes, she talked about Haley's honeymoon, Aunt Carol's arthritis, the weather. Anything except the truth. Then she said, "Are you happy now?" It was not a kind question, but it was an honest one. I thought about it. "Yes," I said. She blinked, clearly unprepared. I'm peaceful. Her mouth tightened. At what cost? I looked at her. The cost was pretending. The peace is what I got back. She stared into her coffee. I still think you were harsh. I know. Your sister was devastated. I know. Chase was your husband. I know. She looked up, then frustrated. Do you have anything else to say? Yes. I folded my hands around my mug. I spent years trying to earn a kind of love this family was never offering. I thought if I paid enough, helped enough, stayed quiet enough, forgave enough, all of you would eventually see me. But you didn't. You saw what I could provide. And when I stopped providing it, you called that cruelty. My mother's eyes filled, but I no longer trusted tears by themselves. I loved you, she whispered. I believe you loved the version of me that made your life easier. That's not fair. No, I said gently. It wasn't. For the first time, she did not argue. Not because she agreed, maybe because some truths are too solid to move. We did not fix everything that day. We did not hug and cry and become a healthy mother and daughter over cappuccinos. Real life is not that generous. But something shifted. She stopped asking for money. She stopped mentioning Chase. She stopped sending me Haley's emergencies. Our relationship became smaller, less warm, less frequent, but also less false. I learned that some relationships can only survive when they are reduced to a size that no longer hurts you. As for Chase, I saw him once almost a year later. It was raining in Portland, the kind of fine mist that makes the whole city look blurred around the edges. I was leaving a bookstore with a paper bag under one arm when I saw him across the street. He looked thinner, still handsome, still dressed like a man on his way to convince someone of something. He saw me too. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he lifted one hand slightly. Not quite a wave, not quite an apology. I nodded once. Then I walked to my car. My heart did not race. My stomach did not drop. I did not wonder if he missed me. I did not wonder if Brooke had hurt him. I did not wonder whether Ember and Field would ever exist. He had become what he should have been long before, a person from my past. That night, I drove to the lake house, not because I was upset, because I wanted to, because it was mine, because I could. I arrived after dark. The stars were sharp above the trees. The lake was black and still. I unlocked the door, turned on the lamps, and made tea in the kitchen. Then I sat by the fireplace with my father's note in my lap. A year earlier, I had been standing in my mother's kitchen watching my husband kiss another woman, while my entire family rearranged reality around my silence. A year earlier, I thought losing them would destroy me, but I had not lost love. I had lost obligation disguised as love. I had lost guilt disguised as family. I had lost a husband who saw my inheritance as opportunity, a mother who saw my pain as inconvenience, and a sister who saw my bank account as proof of devotion. And in losing all of that, I found something I did not know I was allowed to have. My own life. Not a life organized around emergencies. Not a life spent being the stable one, the generous one, the forgiving one. The one who understands, the one who pays, the one who makes it look good. A life with quiet mornings, locked doors, clear accounts, honest friendships, holidays I actually wanted to attend, a home no one could guilt me out of. Peace. The kind of peace that feels boring to people addicted to drama, but sacred to people who have survived it. I used to think self-worth would feel powerful, like triumph, like standing on a stage while everyone who hurt me regretted it. But self-worth did not feel like applause. It felt like waking up in a quiet house and not checking my phone in fear. It felt like paying my own bills and no one else's. It felt like saying no without preparing a court case. It felt like making coffee in my father's blue mug while snow fell outside the kitchen window. It felt like finally understanding that love should not require you to become smaller, poorer, quieter, or easier to use. My father once told me that bridges fail slowly before they collapse. Tiny cracks. Hidden stress. Weight they were never designed to hold. People are the same. For years I carried weight that was never mine. My husband's dreams, my mother's image, my sister's expectations, my family's comfort, their emergencies, their disappointment, their version of me. And then one Thanksgiving night, I finally saw the crack. The mistress in my chair, the kiss in the kitchen, the family photo, the wedding invoice, the lake house conversation, the word sacrifice. That night did not break me. It showed me where I had already been breaking. Walking away did not make me cruel. It made me honest. Cutting them off was not revenge. It was repair. And if anyone listening to this is sitting at a table where your pain is treated like bad manners, where your money is called love, where your silence is expected, because the truth would make everyone uncomfortable, please hear me. You are not selfish for protecting what is yours. You are not cold for refusing to fund your own disrespect. You are not dramatic for naming betrayal. And you are not destroying a family by refusing to be destroyed for one. Sometimes the strongest thing you will ever do is not fight. It is not scream. It is not expose every secret or win every argument. Sometimes the strongest thing you will ever do is pick up your coat, walk out the door, and let the people who took you for granted learn the exact cost of losing access to you. So let me ask you this. If your spouse humiliated you in front of your family defended the affair, and then they still expected you to pay for their dreams, would you cut them off completely, or would you give them one last chance because they are family? Tell me what you would have done.